Live, I tell you, live.
We are live now.
Uh,
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of What's on the Pile. I love doing these openings, by the way. It makes me feel all professional and shit. It's awesome. Joining me, Nathan Besner, is, Shane, Jane, Jenner,
hey.
Wagner. That's it. It's always us. Um, and tonight, we will be discussing one of Jenner's favorite films, The Ninth Configuration, written and directed by William Peter Blatty. What, did you want to interrupt?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard you. I thought I heard you say make a noise.
No.
Directed by William Peter Blatty of Exorcist fame. To many Exorcist fans, it's considered the true sequel, with some loose threads putting both stories in the same world. For instance, the astronaut is apparently in the book. I read some trivia. This is also what he outright considers the Exorcist sequel, because it's the sequel book. It's a movie version of the sequel book he wrote to The Exorcist. So The Exorcist 2 is a bullshit movie. That didn't happen.
It is a thing.
It is a fascinating disaster.
It's
a beautiful train wreck.
Well, anyway, the film is about a group of soldiers who have had major breakdowns, or are they faking? Stacy Keach is brought on to suss out the situation, but is he everything he appears to be? I don't think any of us had seen this other than Jenner, except for Jane, who fell asleep and didn't remember it.
No, I was absolutely wrong. I was thinking of something else.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
I have not seen it.
Before the four of us start discussing the film as newbies to this one, Jenner, do you have any words you'd like to say as an introduction?
Well, like I say, this is one of those movies that, despite a tremendous amount of acclaim when it was released, never really got an organized marketing push, and so consequently did not make a whole lot of money, and in the meantime was released in about 6 or 7 different versions, if you count the ones that eventually made their bows on video, and consequently there's a little bit of lingering variations between the varying video releases. The stream that we ended up watching on the Roku channel was basically identical to the Warner Brothers DVD that I have from a long time ago. There have been about 2 subsequent Blu-rays since then that I need to pick up, but in any case, it's a film that was kind of made to be a cult curiosity, if not classic, although I think it's absolutely a classic, and there are a bunch of people who are absolutely devoted to it, sort of in the same way that Blatty's next directorial effort, 10 years later, with a lot of the same cast as well as the same composer, The Exorcist 3, sort of ended up with a strange afterlife of its own. But it is one of the most fascinating films about faith that I have ever seen, even though I'm not a believer myself. I would point to this as the kind of film that should be discussed in a serious discussion of quote-unquote Christian cinema, because a serious discussion of actual Christian cinema is basically impossible, or at least Christian cinema as we know it. But it defies genre description. It's funny. It has a absolutely devastating last act. It is one of the most insanely quotable movies that I think I've ever seen, to the point where a lot of the strange little lines in the movie, it had been a while since I'd seen it, and I had forgotten how much of my own weird little go-tos and okey-dokes had come out of this picture. It's an absolute actor's showcase. It's one of the most extraordinary collection of late 70s, early 80s that guys you will ever set eyes on, and I think it's a frankly amazing movie.
All right. That's a great introduction.
A lot more coherent than I was when we brought it up last week.
Yeah, I think we caught you off guard with that one.
Yes, you did a bit.
So the four of us have not seen it, and we've had varying degrees of been told all our lives to see it. Broad strokes. Overall, I was not sold in the first 3 minutes, and then I was engrossed for the entire film after that.
Okay.
That opening
right.
song will throw you off guard. I am
That was awful.
I am told that it had actually been used as the opening theme a few years earlier for Rolling Thunder,
Yep.
the other post-Vietnam movie post-Vietnam movie with William Devane and I think Tommy Lee Jones. So it lent itself to the amusing sort of recursive suggestion that that the opening was Cutshaw listening to the soundtrack from Rolling Thunder, but that's just my own strange little meta headcanon. There's a lot of meta in this movie decades before that was a thing. So anyway, carry on.
Well, I'd like to know what everybody thought, broad strokes, whether or not you and Jane hated it.
Not so much hated, but
Okay.
But okay, it was funny. It was entertaining. The acting was fantastic. I just didn't really like the whole cartoonish. Um, you know, it was kind of like a Bugs Bunny cartoon does a mental institution, and I just kind of was like, this is I don't know. It for some reason it really turned me off. I didn't like a lot of the overly, I don't know. It seemed like they were just kind of, it was like full of itself in a lot of the symbolism.
Well,
I was like,
no, Jenner, we're going to talk about it now. You've had your entire life to talk about it.
we've
Now
already had this argument.
Okay, okay.
He and I have.
I agree with you on the cartoonish nature of mental health, the kind of caricatures you get, but I have a headcanon I made while watching this, because at first that kind of pissed me off, but then at the end of the film, when everything is revealed, I thought, no, all those fuckers are faking it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. There's one person with a mental illness in this entire film. This is
Keach.
I thought this, yeah, exactly. I thought this was going to be like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest group thing, but it's more of a character study of one man.
It really is. And I think what is key to the understanding is how much they dwell on Hamlet in this film, because what is Hamlet about? Debatably, Hamlet is about a man who is faking being insane because he is caught in a ridiculous circumstance, and being crazy is the only defense he has against the danger he is in, because Hamlet has to disguise himself as crazy in order to avoid confronting his uncle directly for having murdered his father, if that is in fact what has happened in the Shakespeare play. And very similarly, the premise is these people are faking being crazy in order to get out of being sent back to Vietnam. So they are, faking crazy in order to avoid the lethal danger that they are put in. But to a large degree, this isn't a film about mental health. This is a philosophical thesis which has as parts of it the sort of philosophical construct of madness. And so a lot of the stuff it's going into is much more philosophically structured than it is structured in any sort of respect to real mental health problems. In the same way that, Plato's the cave metaphor has nothing to do with actual prisoners. It's a mental construct in order to present a philosophical idea. Very similar we have here. And that was the respect I took it at. It became very clear to me that this is mental health from the Klinger school. Those of you who remember
That's what
MASH.
I was thinking the whole time. That this is a Corporal Klinger thing, but it just, the whole goofiness, and it was funny. I mean, really, really witty and funny. Was just so discordant against, with the whole serious situation of Stacy Keach and what he had done and what had happened, and it just couldn't get past it, and that it's probably my own failing, but that's okay.
It's not a failing to not like something that other people like. Not to put it in that context, but that was the respect I took it in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad to hear everybody's opinions on it because I'm kind of reevaluating, but I'm still no.
Well, what
Give
one
it
of
time.
my
Give it
I
time.
changed my mind.
one of
I didn't know what to make of this movie the first time that I saw it either. It was one of those ones that really kind of came into focus in repeat viewings for me, even myself. I think I bought it at least once and sold off the copy before I realized what a terrible, terrible mistake I had made because I was still thinking about it months later. Anyway, go ahead.
nope, it's gone now.
Oh God,
That's why I tell you not to interrupt me. It just bong goes out of. Oh, no, I remember. Okay, fuck, what's his name? Who is the secondary character? The guy who was faking it, the astronaut. Uh, what was his
Cut
last
Shaw.
name? Cut Shaw.
Cut
Thank you.
Shaw.
Cut Shaw. I really love thinking about 3 moments in that film, starting from the beginning where Cutshaw is acting like this big, crazy person. Like, look at how wacky I am and crazy. And Stacy Keach just listens and is very subdued and lets him do whatever he wants because he's just making a show. In his mind, he's like fighting against the man in a way. That's the shield that he's put up for himself. So he's like, I'm gonna stick it to this guy by being all super crazy. But then he starts letting him do stuff, and he's like, wait a minute, what's going on with this guy? But the second part was when he just told Kane why he didn't want to go to the moon because he was afraid of being lonely. That's not a psychosis. That's an admission of I was faking it because I'm scared. That was a total admission. And then when and he's realized this entire time he hasn't been like sticking it to the man or anything. He's been an asshole. So when Stacy Keach then gives his life for this to prove a point to this guy, that's what turns him around. That I love that kind of inner contextual representation between the two characters. I do want to circle back on one thing that Jane said. It can be a little into itself.
Up its own.
Yeah. I mean, I recognize it. I liked the movie. I liked what it was saying, but there's some haughtiness to it.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what Shane has to say.
Oh well, I mean, I've just been like listening. I mean, I didn't know what to make of this movie either. The first, the one time I saw it, I didn't know what to expect. I thought because it was William Peter Blatty, I thought this was going to be a horror movie, and then the opening scene, the opening credits. I love the image of Cutshaw like screaming, "There's nothing up there," and then the credits with the rocket. So I was expecting something very different. I thought this was going to be like a sci-fi movie or something, and I kept waiting for like sort of a twist. I'll admit the first
alien.
or something. Like the first half of the movie, I was wondering, what am I watching? It felt it felt very Cuckoo's Nest. It felt very 12 Monkeys. At times, that sort of arch, again, like the comic goofiness and all that kind of stuff. The second half, was where it started to kind of get my attention. I did at one point write in my notes, hey, this is Shutter Island. It's a very, not quite the same premise, but there is a little bit of that where everyone's playing this role for this one man. And it's, this closed box institution, things like that. This is what I think I need to watch again because again, the first half, I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And then it started to really come together. I did find it interesting that this whole thing with Stacy Keach's, what's going on with him. There's a reveal about half an hour in. You get sort of part of the story. Mm-hmm. So you're not really in the dark. Then there's a full explanation later. I'm kind of bewildered as to why they did that. Why not just wait? And why give that little tidbit? Because it's already clear that he's not. It was clear to me, at least, just he seems like he's half asleep. It's clear that he's not really there on the up and up. He's not really there to help anybody.
Because I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all. Just I was just wondering narratively why they made that choice to just give us a little bit of give us a little sort of twist. That early.
I think because the purpose of the film is not the twist of Stacy Keach's identity, the purpose of the film is the philosophical discussion it wants to have later. And for you to get to that philosophical discussion and anything resembling a fair approach, you need to know who he actually is to have that discussion later on. This isn't, last 10 minutes you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, he was actually blah. This is, that reveal has to come at the midpoint so they can then have the discussion, which is what they really want to do with the film.
Right, but we already kind of, I guess it seems
we
to be.
kind of figured it out a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. So I feel like we were, I guess, maybe spoon fed a little bit just in case you didn't quite catch it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I could buy that.
Yeah, that mini reveal. Are you referring to his brother talking about what was going on?
Yes.
Okay, because
I thought that was the full
kind of a
reveal.
weakness.
No. I mean, when the general comes out the front door or something like the front gate, and I don't remember what he says. He mentions that you basically find out that he's one of the patients as well.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
It's not stated.
They talk around it. Yeah.
They talk around it.
That's what I
You
took
got
from it, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, it's the point that telegraphs there is a twist. Its precise nature we are saving until later.
Okay, so the reveal was the brother. I actually have I felt like one of the weaknesses on this was that they didn't focus on that relationship between him and his brother quite enough. I would have liked just a little more. And honestly, I was wondering if it wouldn't have been more effective if his brother had been at the bar instead of Cutshaw. But I understand that it's supposed to be about Cutshaw's healing and faith and everything. But I don't know. I wasn't. I did really feel for his brother, and I wanted to see more of that and see them connect again somehow, but they never do, and that just felt really, really sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Ed Flanders' performance in this is absolutely beautiful and absolutely heartbreaking in the long run. Which was a trick he managed to repeat in Exorcist 3 10 years later, along with Jason Miller, Scott Wilson, and Nicole Williamson, who was originally cast to play Cain in this, but ended up getting fired.
Why was he fired?
Basically for being a dick in a hotel in Budapest, ostensibly, but in fact because Blatty was looking for an excuse because he just couldn't play American.
Well, Stacy Keach is great. Wonderful.
It's an extraordinary piece of underacting for the most part, except for that one astonishing monologue that he has, directly into the camera, wearing a Nazi uniform.
Yeah.
About the peroration of love for your fellow man.
And his eyes went red.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were blood red. That was crazy.
Where else would you say we see this level of acting from Stacy Keach? Because I am mostly familiar with Stacy Keach from, let's call them lesser films. Not to take a dump on him at all, but I'm thinking like Class of 1999, where he plays a guy
I know him from
robot teachers.
Escape from L.A.
Yeah. I know him mostly from American History X. That's where I first became familiar with him.
What was the television show, the detective show?
Mike Hammer.
Thank you. That's how I know
Mike Hammer.
Yeah, that was the first place that I ran across him. Granted, he had been around. I just didn't know his work outside of Mike Hammer until I started looking up movies for myself. But
it was Escape from LA for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I really like him in this. I've liked him other places I've run into him, but it's sad that I only really associate him with the Class of 1999 movie, because that's...
Oh, he was fun in that.
He was fun, but
he was having a grand old time.
Nobody puts that on their reel. Let's just say it's not really covering him in glory.
I mean, check out American History X. He's great as a white supremacist.
I was saying I've seen American History X. I keep forgetting that's him. Because the associations in my head don't really draw lines to that, and that is such an unpleasant movie to watch in the first place. So
he's one of those reliable actors who never felt like he had the career that he really should have.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he made it a long way for someone with basically a permanent disfigurement. But of course, so did Richard Lynch, who turns up in the last act of the movie as well. So there's a certain elegance to that also. No, Keach is a fantastic actor. Like I say, never got that many leads, and a lot of the ones that he had were not in great movies, like frickin' Butterfly, which if you've never encountered that one, look that one up.
Really? You just said it was terrible.
Oh no, it's terrible. Yeah, it's an incest drama with Pia Zadora.
Oh God damn no!
I have a random question.
But the judge is played by Orson Welles. Go ahead, Shane.
That dog, is that a real dog? Is that a real breed? What
is
that?
Totally.
Look like a
real
mop.
breed. It's a real breed, but I think they also put a mop on it.
Okay, I was like,
Maybe
is this?
wrong.
I thought.
Think you, no, there's. It is. I think it's a Puli, a Puli or LLI.
I believe it's Puli.
Okay, so a Puli.
All right.
Because I kept that was because I kept watching for something like Supernatural or something. I was like, is that dog a real dog? There's something going on with that dog. Turns out no, it's just a weird looking dog, I guess.
In fact, I'm gonna look up. I think
Or Lawrence.
I think it's a.
Here we go. I'm putting one up on the.
Yeah.
What are you looking
dog.
at?
All right.
Just Li Puli. I worked
Is
at
it
a
on-
dog
is it on the
magazine.
stream?
It was
It
my
is.
it was my first it was my first job was to work at a dog magazine, so I know most of the breeds.
So that's a Puli dog. Yeah, that kind of dog shows up in the movie. It's great scene decoration and everything.
Oh, and it's a great
It gives
actor
him.
too.
It gives
acts
an
at all the
amazing
right
performance
time.
in its own right.
They did refer to him as Sir Lawrence, so I think
Yeah.
that was aptly named. I mean, that dog he really earned his milk bones. I'm telling you.
like that one shot where he's just sitting there as everybody's doing stuff around him. That is, that dog is a champion, supporting player in this movie, same as everybody else.
Of course, it's possible the dog just couldn't see, so 'cause we never saw any
Didn't even
eyes.
notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we ever see its face? That's why I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Got a nose.
One
That's
time
all we
I
saw
saw.
of it.
Yeah, I saw the nose.
Okay.
That's a face on those things. So Exorcist 3 is the adaptation of Legion.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that is. I liked Exorcist 3 quite a lot, and I could see spiritually how these three tie together. The kind
More
of
accurately than Exorcist 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Exorcist 2 does not tie in very well.
I saw Exorcist 2 before I saw Exorcist 1, and
That feels like a mistake.
it was.
That feels like an acute miscalculation.
Yeah, it led to me renting Repossessed.
Oh, I've never seen that actually. I remember the trailers for it when I was on when it was on TV.
Repossessed.
So this movie
That's
is
the
a
theme song, yeah.
this is an actual canon sequel to The Exorcist.
The book is. Cutshaw is supposed to be the astronaut from the original Exorcist that Reagan tells, "You're gonna die up there."
Well,
Yeah, he was never identified in the movie, not even by name in the credits. But Blatty viewed that as this story is taking place in the same world.
So
Go ahead.
if you're told by the devil you're going to die in space, is it really cowardice to not want to go into space?
You never know what the devil's angle is.
Yeah, he's the Prince of Lies, so.
Yeah, but if the devil tells you, why take the chance?
Yeah.
Presumably there's some reason you're going into space. It's not.
Well, yeah, you're going there to
it's
be
not
a
like-
scientist and study shit for a couple of days and then come right back.
But that was another thing is that I got a little mixed up because I guess Marines can technically get into NASA, but you don't be Marines, right? Or do you? I don't know how that NASA works.
Well, I think the Marines would tell you that once a Marine, always a Marine. So
I guess so, but I mean that he was in a Marine hospital. military marine.
Yeah, that was specifically for
Yeah.
Vietnam vets, I thought, or for people coming back
Yeah,
from the
that's
war.
what
So
I
how did he
thought
end up
too.
there?
It was
Exactly.
supposed to be, but this was a bunch of people they culled from other other psychiatric institutions to this one location and put them in a castle. So I mean, there's a lot of questionable things going on here.
It felt
Yeah.
like it felt like a joint services institution.
Mhm.
As I understand from some of the background that I read up on this, that also for the most part wasn't in the novel as well, which I read ages ago and recall as being a lot broader than the movie, believe it or not. Like up to and including having one of the first instances that I've seen of a malfunctioning AI that was implied to be responsible for the glitch that sent Kane back stateside in the first place. But in any case,
Okay.
yeah, no, like I said, the novel was definitely a little bit broader, but ended up ultimately with a lot of the same focus. But I completely forgot where I started there. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Actually, one of the discussions
Sometimes I
that,
talk so much I forget to go.
I was just going to mention that one of the things Jenner was upset about was there are variant endings, or at least the scene with where Stacy Keach dies, this character dies.
Yeah, there.
And I wanted to kind of discuss that myself.
No,
That's okay with y'all?
I'm kind of seeing your point on that the more that I think about it. I still don't know how I feel about the ending that was on the first two video releases that this got, or at least the first two major iterations that it had back in the VHS days, was a version where when Kane's arm flops as he's giving out, the knife drops out of his sleeve. That didn't happen in the earlier VHS releases of this, the New World / Star Maker version, as well as the first Warner Brothers director's cut. It was there was a little bit of extra voiceover in the letter at the end saying, "In the end, the biker's knife slipped in." So the implication was that he was mortally wounded, but he simply opted not to do anything about it.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not.
As opposed to actually committing suicide. Now, like I say, the suicide kind of works as you suggested, Jane, because you have had me thinking about this a lot. It works as a selfless act to shock the patients, but it does not exactly gel with Catholic dogma.
Yeah.
Quite the opposite, in fact.
I refuse to buy that he did anything other than kill himself. There's a question about this?
I would say even
it's two different versions.
Even if he didn't actually do the injury that did himself in, he obviously refrained from telling anyone that he was dying, which is effectively the same thing as committing suicide.
But if he got stabbed by the guy, why did they do makeup on both his wrists?
Yeah. A good point.
The earlier versions cut around it so effectively that you like I say, it was basically an alternate take, but it was canon for a long time, which made me end up scraping my jaw up off the floor when the original Warner Brothers disc came out, because I did not see that change coming. This is a movie that has about as many variant releases as it has had video releases. Full stop.
You say I know suicide does go against Catholic dogma, but something that supersedes it at times is sacrifice.
That's fair. That's why it's starting to work for me more. This is one of those bits where my expectations were probably working against a reasonably objective assessment. I'm thinking it works better than I originally thought it did.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Jane kind of sold me on this one, in fact.
I mean, it could also be viewed as a further sacrifice that his action is not only to give up his life, but to basically commit himself to damnation for the sake of his fellow man, getting him shocked out of the whatever you want to call it, PTSD, philosophical logjam, whatever it might be. But it's kind of splitting hairs at that point. Yeah. philosophical
I mean
logjam.
that's an interesting take on it. And yeah, I know, it kind of works, especially since he still feels guilty for having killed everybody.
Yeah, that's another thing. He was going to go to jail. I mean, he was on his way to prison.
Yeah, he killed like 30 people.
So
I didn't realize they were dying until they showed the bodies, and like that woman hit her head and she was like, ah, and apparently that killed her. And then that one guy, his wig fell off.
Yeah, I wonder if that was on purpose. I wasn't entirely sure what, because you want to talk about cartoonish characters. Let's talk about the bikers.
Yeah.
This is somehow high school bullies formed a biker gang, and
his extra guy liner.
Yeah,
very effeminate but rough and rowdy tough guys. It was an interesting choice there.
I think it's sort of a confluence and a mistaking of leather culture from one direction and the other direction. So
you may not be wrong there.
I feel that. I really do.
Yeah. The bikers were pretty silly. I liked I liked the bikers at first when they were like, no, that's really the guy. But then they turned into cartoons and did like, I guess, rape at one point.
Yeah.
And that's
everything sort of went walking, talking object lesson there, but still makes for a very, very hard sequence to watch.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm always reminded of Repo Man. Come on, man, let's do some crimes. Yeah, we are bad guys for the sake of being bad guys. Don't question it.
I love that movie.
I love Repo Man so much.
Yeah.
Lorna Doones.
We still need a longer conversation about Alex Cox on this program one of these days.
Yeah,
that's just
I'd like
an incidental side note.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've probably been going for long enough about the ninth configuration. Any parting words before we move on? Of course, I know, Jenner.
Well, no, this is a bit more incidental to the movie. This is actually just an anecdote out of my own experience. I worked for quite a while at a convenience store that is in Sonoya, Georgia, which is the town where they ended up shooting a lot of The Walking Dead. So a lot of The Walking Dead cast members were occasional customers at the store, and I was actually fairly friendly with most of them. I always said the only one of that lot that I would have absolutely fanboyed over, and unfortunately he never came in when I was there, was Scott Wilson, who unfortunately passed on before I ever saw him in my convenience store. But I always said that if I had the chance, I would ask him, so you did the ninth configuration for 1980, you did Exorcist 3 for 1990. Was there any talk about getting the team back together for something in 2000? Because as it turned out, Exorcist 3 ended up being William Peter Blatty's last directorial effort before unfortunately passing away in, I believe, 2017. I always would have loved another 10 years on sort of State of the Union address from those forces, so to speak.
We shot a movie in that. Is that the way we shot a movie together? The four of us?
No. That was the convenience store in Palmetto, not the one in Sonoya.
Okay.
Anyway.
What was the first one I found you at that I'd always eat the leftover like hot dogs and shit?
Oh, that was 314 and 85 in Fayetteville.
That's it. Yeah, that was my favorite. Just sat in that store for like 8 straight hours, smoking cigarettes, talking about movies, and eating like the most awful shit that you can find to eat in a gas station. Always delicious.
Yeah.
And Jenner would know the SKU numbers for every one of those awful things you were eating.
Anybody else want to say something?
Yeah,
Wagner.
Yeah. Very briefly, what is the ninth configuration?
They said it.
They talk about it. It's about the...
Right. It's talking about the conformation of atoms and proteins in order to generate life on the planet from the primordial soup, which would take something like 10 to the 200th years to happen naturally or something like that. Was there any greater depth to that point? Because it's the title of the book. It's mentioned once in the film. I'm betting that in the book they go into it more.
Well, the book was originally entitled Twinkle, Twinkle, Killer Kane, which is kind of an interesting pile, and it was actually released under that title in some places in the world, or indeed in some markets in the United States. But essentially, Blatty kind of rewrote it as the ninth configuration, which I think was his attempt to sort of bring the idea of the mystery of good more to the fore. The idea that even it's like the line goes in the movie. Somehow, I think that knowing that is much more amazing than simply believing in a god.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's the idea that as I sort of the idea that the existence of order itself is evidence of, if not a directly benevolent in any way that we can understand it, higher power, but at least an organizing force that tends toward, well, order in the universe, or good, as you could view that as an expression of the order, or vice versa.
Okay.
The idea, not so much that what was it that evil comes from madness, but that madness comes from evil. Again, continuing with the idea from The Exorcist, and again, the sort of the spiritual / literal sequel to The Exorcist, that sort of introducing the idea of good and evil as literal universal forces. And this one was more of a re-examination of good as a literal force, very much in the same way that Exorcist 3 ended up being an examination of evil as a similarly literal force.
It's also a better title.
Yeah.
And Twinkle, Twinkle, Killer Kane. That does sound like it should be on the shelf with like Kiss the Girls or The Bone Collector.
And ninth configuration has the advantage of sounding cool.
Yeah.
It's mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
And
That's
constantly
like,
mixed up with the ninth gate.
Yes.
That's what I was expecting. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anybody need to take a break? We're not going to leave, but if anybody needs to run off and
I'm gonna go smoke. I'll be back.
Cool.
All right.
Smoking contingent's going to smoke, but we'll be right back.
You don't need to sign off.
I'll take a bathroom break, but I'll be gone for like a minute.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Talk amongst
Wagner.
yourselves.
Yeah, it'll be me and Wagner. We can start talking about movies we haven't seen.
Movies we haven't seen. Okay, so we're not going to go into what we've watched recently, or
no, we will be, but it's just you and me. I
Okay,
figured
so
we'd
we
want to
want
talk about
larger
what we.
audience.
Yeah, so we're just kind of doing a side chat now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Things that we. I have only gotten 10 minutes into what is it? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
I haven't seen it yet.
I started watching that on a plane, and the plane trip got rough, so I couldn't watch it anymore.
Oh yeah.
But I have purchased it. What?
I hate turbulence. Yeah. I was in really bad.
Flying.
Yeah, it sucks. I was in this awful turbulence once where we were dropping like hundreds of feet and people were like flying into the air and hitting their heads.
Please stop talking.
Okay.
Because now I will think about that the next flight I'm on.
I'm sorry. It gave me a constant fear of flying.
Yeah, it's remarkable. You mentioned you have a fear of flying, and everyone immediately tells you about the worst flight they've ever had. It's universal.
Yeah. Because we also fear flying, and we want to share our pain with somebody who will understand. Because
I understand it far too well.
Because people who aren't afraid of flying, they'll be like, "Who cares? Happens all the time. It's just turbulence."
It's real fun. Sitting next to somebody who is like in a drop zone, who's in the military, in the Air Force, and starts telling you stories about the times when, they were in a helicopter that had to drop real quick because they were taking enemy fire. That's fun.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that would freak me out.
Okay.
Yeah, let's think about movies.
So this is a bit of a long shot, and I'm pretty sure Jenner has seen it. But have you ever seen Morons from Outer Space?
Let me look it up really quickly on IMDb and see if anything kicks into my memory.
It might be a little
Hey.
too close of a match. Hey-o. Close of a match with
it's Mel Smith?
Close Encounters. Yeah, with Close Encounters, because it's large portions of it are a direct parody of Close Encounters.
Okay.
But it's something I have seen that most other people haven't.
Huh. It looks. I've never seen this.
Okay. Well, there's a consideration. If you want something else that only I and Jenner have seen, there is In Order of Disappearance, which is the original. I don't remember what the U.S. remake was called,
What?
but it's Stellan Skarsgård does Taken in Norwegian.
Oh,
That's,
I've seen that.
You've seen it, okay?
That was
Shane?
fun.
I've never seen it.
Was it, though?
That sounds awesome, though. I love Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, it was a
And
lot of fun.
it's also there is a subtlety between the different nations in Scandinavia between their humor, and I think Norwegian humor is best understood in the final 10 seconds of that film, where the guy who was parasailing makes a reappearance coming around the side of the mountain and flies directly into the front of that snowplow. And he's immediately chopped up and killed.
Yeah.
Random shit that happens
What?
that is
Didn't
horrible.
Didn't Liam Neeson do a remake?
Yes, I can't remember the name. The Cold List, something like that.
Cold Rush, not Cold Rush. Cold Pursuit. Is that what?
Cold
Pursuit is what he did.
Pursuit with Laura
That
Dern
sounds
as
right.
well. Yeah,
That's a
That sounds
remake.
right.
Okay.
that's it. But is it the same director?
You know, I haven't seen any.
Same director.
I've seen I've seen Taken 1 and 2. I haven't seen any other of the Liam Neeson action movies. I don't know if any of them are any good. I haven't seen The Gray. I know that one's not really an action movie.
Oh, Wolf Puncher, the movie.
Well, I heard he
Find out.
doesn't even really fight wolves in that. Like it ends with him about to confront the wolves, and everyone thought
Really?
it was going to be about Liam Neeson fighting wolves.
Apparently, there's also an after credit sequence that's like the aftermath, and
Yeah.
the wolves are fine.
Yeah. So
It's like the
apparently
end of a boy in his
it's
car.
more of like just like a survival movie, but there's no Liam Neeson fighting wolves in it.
I have no
Oh.
interest in seeing that movie. None.
Apparently, it's good for what it is, but it's not what people were expecting. It's not what was sold
Mhm.
to all of us.
He did an airplane movie. I never saw that one. Nonstop.
Oh wait, I might have seen that one. I might have
Don't
watched that on a plane.
That's awful.
No,
I have a friend who once saw Alive on a plane.
What?
And this is in the era when it wasn't seat back, it was drop down screens, so everybody's
everybody
watching.
had to
What
look
kind
at
of
it.
a monster decided to schedule that? Speaking of, another suggestion for Scandinavian humor, if you want Dutch humor, which is the darkest fucking humor on earth, you can watch one of my favorite movies, which is
Terribly Happy.
Terribly Happy. Thank you.
I horked up a copy of that not too long ago on your recommendation. I still haven't seen it yet, though.
It is an incredibly dark comedy, which can best be described as Hot Fuzz for real.
I think I'm very interested.
This is on my Amazon list.
No.
Like I put it on my Amazon list apparently.
Probably because I mentioned it previously. I really like the movie. I saw it at a Dutch film festival, which is
Interesting.
yeah. I went to it with Robin Flicker, if you remember.
I was going to
Robin.
say, expressed as a percentage of the whole, how many Paul Verhoeven movies were there?
We only went for one film, so I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what's
But,
what's that one he did with the scissors?
The Scissors.
I
Is
can
it one of
come
his
up with
old?
a couple of scissors
Yeah,
movies, but none of them are
yeah,
Paul Verhoeven.
Scissors are used in a very particular way.
Wait, are you talking about Lars? Are you talking about Lars von Trier?
No,
You're not talking about Antichrist?
no, not at all.
Okay. I
We're
mean, those
not
are
talking
like garden
about
shears.
I don't remember
Yeah.
the scissors specifically, but it wasn't Black Book.
No.
That was yeah. I was going to say
We're
I'm
not
pretty
talking
sure
about-
pretty sure I actually watched that.
Okay,
with
let me
you,
let
at one
me
point.
let me look.
I have no
this
idea who
up.
remade Inside.
Eee.
Inside was remade as an American movie, and scissors
Yeah.
play a prominent role.
Mm.
I'm assuming you're not talking about cutting moments.
No.
Yeah, I don't know then.
No bells directly.
What the hell?
As far as scissors specifically.
Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to figure this out.
Okay,
Okay.
so we were just going through different movies that might be good for the group because some of us have seen and some haven't. I offered up Terribly Happy and also In Order of Disappearance. You know, Stellan Skarsgård always.
I still need to see that as well as Cold
Oh.
Pursuit, which I've had a copy of for a while.
Wait, am I the only one who's seen that one then?
Nate saw it.
Oh, Nate saw it. That's right. That's right. Okay. so that
Sounds
was
like fun.
so
I mean, I like Stellan Skarsgård.
It is.
I might not be here next week.
It is a
Gonna
subdued
see my
film.
mom.
The Fourth Man.
Okay. I've heard of it. I've never
Don't
seen
know
it.
that one.
Have none
I mean,
of
I
you seen it?
Nothing.
Gero and
Nothing about
Krabbe.
it.
I'm gonna
think
pitch
so.
that. I'm gonna pitch the
Okay.
shit out of that. That movie is phenomenal. Holy
Really?
shit.
Okay. Where is it available?
Is it in channels?
That's what I'm trying to find out. It is. Ooh, it might
Yeah.
not be on Amazon. Yeah, I have it on DVD. So I don't.
I flirted with it on VHS a lot back in the day, but I never actually picked it up.
Wait, what year is that?
1983.
I wanna s- Yeah,
Okay.
it was right before Verhaven did Flesh and Blood. Either that or
Yeah.
right after.
Okay.
I think it was right before.
Yeah, it was.
Hmm.
Oh, what's the original title? Day.
Nothing we can pronounce. Dutch is always such a problem for me because it sounds very close to German, and I feel like I should be able to understand it, but I totally don't.
All right. Well, I can't look it up that way. Fourth. Hey, talk amongst yourselves. Keep the.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Yeah.
I actually was. I keep thinking about this trailer that Jenner showed us last night for a Finnish movie called Sisu.
I really want to see that. I
I
already saw
wanna
that in the
see it
theater.
so bad.
I am
I
interested
think
in
it's
seeing that.
it might be still a $20 rental, or is it not? Has it gone down to normal price yet? Last I checked, it was a $20 rental.
It's still
Yeah.
pretty steep. It's not. I don't think it's still at 20, but it's
It
still
is.
above 10.
It's
Oh,
still
Let's-
20.
let's
I checked
agree.
yesterday.
Let's agree now.
I mean,
that
I
we
saw
do
that-
in the near future.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
saw
be-
the
Fun-
I saw the trailer for that before John Wick 4, which I mean, it's by the producers of John Wick 4, but
Yeah.
it was perfect. And
If I'm going to pay $20 for a movie, I want a physical copy. That's my
Yeah, I'm in the same
Yeah.
boat there.
I agree.
Yeah. And this sounds like the kind of thing I want a physical copy of.
oh, and Matt, my Finnish friend, I did say the word perkele to her,
Yes.
and she said it just means like devil. She said it wasn't that bad.
Is that the literal translation?
It might be a little, but she said it's basically like damn you or something like that. Like it's not really that
Mm.
severe.
I just know it's a swear word. That's
Yeah.
the sum total of the Finnish I know. Because in Rare Exports, where they're talking about exporting captured Santas,
Mhm.
if you say
That's a great
perkele
movie.
if you say perkele around them, they you get noted as a naughty person and they come after you. But that was from the short film that they built Rare Exports out of.
Okay, I think I mentioned this on the
Yeah.
podcast.
That's another one that's been on my pile forever. I still haven't
Yeah.
seen that one.
I watched that movie.
Not the time of year. Not the time of year for it right now. Though.
Yeah,
No.
because of that movie, I make Finnish gingerbread every Christmas. And it's delicious.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know how it's. I've never really had that much gingerbread, so I don't know if it differs that much from normal gingerbread. But
No
I
idea.
follow internet Finnish recipes, and it's good.
When you
I've
say
never heard-
normal, I mean there are so many different kinds. I have a recipe for very crispy kind of gingerbread. I have one that's kind of chewy. Some that are actually like like cornbread, kind of thick like a cake.
Okay.
Like a cake, almost.
So and my grandmother would make that with like a butter sauce.
Okay. Yeah, the
Oh,
kind I
yeah.
make is like it's crunchy. I would say. I guess it's.
And
I'm
then
trying to think of.
crispy.
Yeah, it's kind of dense and crunchy, so it is a little bit hard. But
Mhm.
I mean, I like it.
All right. Well, Fourth Man is available nowhere. I'll try to dig out my DVD and
Do something.
Yeah,
Well,
something.
Something.
But I'll pitch it
Something.
later. Anyway,
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
should do right now, let's put aside the pitching for a second.
Mhm.
Let's talk about stuff we've watched this
Mhm.
week.
Oh yeah.
I never start, so I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I've been watching a bunch of horror movies with Amelia.
Ooh.
We've watched Dead Alive. We've watched The Frighteners. We watched American Werewolf in London. She loves
Oh wow.
all of them. Big
Because
fan
he
of
has
all
good
of them.
taste.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
We watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which
Yay.
is one of her favorite movies now.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
she loved it. She loved that one. And we watched The Deep House.
What did you think of that?
What is the
did.
Deep House?
The Deep
That is
House
an Aja movie.
It's about a
Uh-oh.
couple who are awful, and they go around shooting YouTube videos of like abandoned places, abandoned insane asylums, abandoned whatever,
Oh.
and they find out about this story about a house that had in a valley that had been flooded, so the whole thing was abandoned underwater. So they get a bunch of scuba gear, and the whole movie takes place underwater, where it turns out it's a haunted house underwater.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
It was,
that
that's
sounds like a
it
neat
was-
idea.
it
Alexander
sounds
Aja.
really cool.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
a flaming piece of shit.
Oh, wow.
And we were so bored, we just started fast forwarding through it and got to the end, and we were like, "Oh, good, it wasn't worth it."
Okay.
So
Mm,
fast
okay.
forwarding worked out for that one.
Okay, I
It's
have to ask,
Excellent.
was this both underwater and found footage?
No, it was not.
It's not
There
a
was
found footage
there,
film?
there was
Because
some
it sounds like a
there
found
was a
footage
there was a
film.
found footage aspect to it,
Yeah,
but it was not predominantly a found footage movie.
It was all
Okay.
shot on underwater. It was all shot on GoPros, and they have a drone that follows them everywhere and is able to get the
Okay.
best shots.
Oh, like Dinosaur Hotel.
Yes,
Yeah, like the little ball.
except done better.
Hmm.
It's a little better
Okay.
because they really do have underwater drones.
Yeah,
So
I
at
know,
least
sorry.
those are an existing thing, and they're not shitty CG. It's an actual real thing.
Okay.
But no, it was very 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 boring. It wasn't awful. It was boring. The two main characters are the most unlikable people on the planet. You can't
Ooh.
wait for them to die, and you are supposed to be rooting for this woman. I guess her husband is, or whatever he is supposed to be an asshole because that's the direction they go in the movie. But she's an asshole too, and yeah, they deserve everything they get. Fuck them.
Yes. Okay.
That's it for me.
Ah,
Yeah, the unlikable protagonist.
Oh,
was an
one last
odd
thing.
direction to turn. Good.
One last thing. I finished Picard.
Yeah.
Waterfalls.
Mm.
Niagara Falls. Yeah, it was. Yes, it is 1000% just a heaping glob of fan service nonstop. They're like, just have a little more, get fat on our fan service. Fucking, we've been through 4 shitty movies. Well, 3 shitty movies and 1 okay movie. We've been through 2 awful seasons of Picard, and
Yeah.
we have all been a little, antagonistic. So, and I'm speaking of Star Trek fans. So, let them do fanfare. It's great. I love the bait. I love it.
Mm.
It's wonderful. It made me cry seeing the original Enterprise or the Enterprise D from Next Gen.
Yeah.
Oh, tears streaming.
Yeah.
Oh, bringing Data
right,
back
I'll
and they
do
hand
it.
wave it. They're like, I don't know. I guess you're just back now.
Again, as
Yeah.
it turns out.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay,
It's so fine.
And the best thing about the season is it just mocks the shit out of the first 2 seasons. Just
Really?
It
mocks
does.
them.
It does a bit, yes.
Yeah. So anyway,
you're saying we might ought to slog our way through those first 2 seasons so we can
Well,
appreciate those jokes, or don't do it. Don't do it.
No,
no, they're little like
are.
we gotchas for people who did sit through those, and yeah.
We actually did slog through the first season. You may have forgotten.
I have.
The second season we
watched
slogged
it a
through,
lot.
I think, the first episode, and I slogged through the rest of it, and it was okay.
Yeah.
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 Com-
Nah.
Third season is
Third
so
season
fucking
is-
good.
Okay.
It's better than
Third season is so fucking good.
it's better. It's the send off that we always wanted. It's
I know,
better
I
than
know.
all the movies, all the
Yeah.
next gen movies. It really, really is. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Anyway, that's enough for me. Moving on. Who would like to go next? Raise your hand. Jane.
Yes, I will.
Hey.
I didn't watch a lot this week. The Never Have I Ever came back on Netflix, and I've been watching that while I've been painting, and that's good. But
Jess
I wanted
likes
to
that
talk.
show.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cute, and it's something you can just put in the background, and it's good. But the one thing I do want to tell y'all about is I was watching. I of course Korean dramas. I love them. I started a new one called uh the beauty inside or something like that. I can't remember
Inner
what
Beauty?
it was. Something inner beauty maybe. I can't. Anyway, whatever it is about a woman who is cursed somehow. They don't explain how. At 10 years ago, she started once a month for a whole week. She turns into a different person. It could be a little child or an old man, any race, any age, any gender, any whatever. I mean, she becomes it, and so it happens for a week out of the month. And she's a fairly famous actress, and she's known for running away because she disappears for a whole week, right? So that's all fun and games, but the best part is the guy she falls in love with had been in an accident 10 years ago. It was her fault. 10 years, 10 years ago.
Of course.
And because of the accident, he can no longer recognize people's faces.
Oh, he has face blindness?
Nice.
Yes. And
Okay.
it is amazing. And absolutely. It's just the peak, the pinnacle of just crazy soap opera. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Korean dramas are the new. What were those ones what were they called? The Mexican soap operas?
Telenovelas.
Telenovelas.
Yeah, I never watched any of those, but the Korean dramas are.
Viva Me, I think it.
You loved them?
I love them. I haven't gotten into the Korean dramas yet, but you're kind of you're selling me on it.
Got to see. My favorite one is Business Proposal, and it is a 12-hour commercial for Bibigo Foods. I can't tell you how much. I see. That's another neat thing about the Korean dramas is as they start, they don't always have a sponsor that you can recognize, but as you start to watch them, you're like, oh yeah, okay, so that face cream is the sponsor. And then as you go along, you'll notice like if they've been on for a while, like it's usually never before episode 10 that Subway comes on. But if Subway comes on, they're a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I just finished Hometown Cha Cha Cha, and the last episode.
I love that title.
Episode has a 2-minute commercial for Domino's Pizza. It is a solid 2 minutes of the two lead men using their phone app to order a pizza, discussing how much they love the app and how much they love pizza. And then one of them says, starts to put garlic sauce on a piece of pizza and hand it to the friend. And the friend goes, I know that we are true friends because you gave me the garlic aioli sauce. I can't remember what it is. And he's like, oh, that's okay because I prefer the hot and spicy sauce as he puts it on. And they eat and laugh, and it is amazing. And it's Domino's Pizza.
That's pretty.
We never discussed how Domino's Pizza is absolute crap.
That's
Subway is in almost every one of them, but they never come on until the end. And if it's a successful one.
No, that's brilliant. That is a brilliant way to advertise because every time I see a commercial that comes in, I'm like, fuck you. I'm never buying your shit. I don't care who you
No.
are.
Mhm.
And
I bought the red ginseng pomegranate collagen pouches because all the girls were absolutely eating them as they talked as friends.
yeah, yeah.
So
If
I keep one by my bed and just eat one while I'm watching these things, and I just feel so cool.
if they had like Sam and Dean Winchester order a pizza from Pizza Hut, I might order from
Oh,
Pizza Hut.
oh yeah, absolutely. But that's just the
Not just have it in the
funny.
background or something. They have to say something like,
No,
I
they
fucking
have
love
to
this.
use it.
Ah.
There's the first one I watched was The King Eternal Monarch, and that one I was the one I realized that everything was done with product placements. And one of the product placements was this infrared face mask, and they would put they had fancy, would put them on and wear them, and then someone would come in and go, "Don't interrupt me. I'm doing my beauty treatment."
That's fantastic.
It was so good. But yeah, no, they're great. They're so predictable. Every one of them is, you know what's going to happen. You know that you've got the clowns, you've got the best friends, and you kind of figure out who's going to pair up with who and what kind of troubles they're going to have. And it's junk food, and I love it. Comfort food, actually, it's comfort food. I will watch hours and hours of it. Okay, sorry. I think that's pretty much all I watched.
Okay. You all have 1 minute each, whoever's left. I'm kidding.
Oh.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Ah.
I think mine are pretty short. Like
No,
I don't know what
it
to do
doesn't.
with
We
minutes.
don't actually have to be short. I
Okay.
was just fucking with you guys.
Okay.
Making me feel bad for talking.
Well,
Oh,
that's the most
fun.
impassioned defense I've ever heard of K-dramas, like in a semi-public forum, or more precisely, the most impassioned defense I've ever heard of product placement. I mean, the idea of predictability and product placement as a legitimate feature is one of those things that I know we've been talking about this a lot lately. I'm still getting my mind around it, but I can see it. So, might still not be my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is pretty scary. Anyway, Shane, what have you seen?
I finally watched Violent Night. I know it's off season, but it's on Amazon Prime, and who knows how long it's going to be around.
Hey,
It
fair
was-
enough.
It was fun. It was different than I thought. For some reason, I don't know if I ever saw a trailer. I knew it was David Harbour as Santa Claus. I thought he was going to be like a killer going around terrorizing people. I didn't realize it was Santa Claus as John McClane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the richest fucks that you just want to see die, and then I won't say what happens, but it was disappointing what happens to them. It was a fun movie, though. It was just a fun, kind of dumb movie.
I loved
Um,
it.
I've been watching this Apple TV show Silo. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it.
Oh, how is it?
The setup is very familiar. It's the last bastion of humanity. It's basically Fallout, but they're living in a silo instead of a bunker. The outside is all irradiated or something. We don't quite know, but there's this weird rule where if you ever say you want to go outside, you have to go. Like you are just going to be sent out. So it opens with the sheriff. The sheriff is played by David Oyelowo. I don't know how to pronounce that. It opens with
Yellow.
Having trouble last
Oyelowo.
night.
It opens with his
Oyelowo.
wife. His wife Rashida Jones deciding to go outside. She goes out and dies, or so we think. Don't know yet. By the end of the episode, the sheriff himself decides to go outside and die. Second episode, it turns out he's appointed his replacement, a mechanic played by Rebecca Ferguson, and basically she's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Tim Robbins is in it. Some other people. I mean, it's okay so far. I think I'm 4 episodes in, and it's still coming out. The one thing that sucks is, so I have Apple TV for free I just bought a laptop. The last episode comes out the week after my free trial of Apple TV expires.
Ooh, they
So-
timed that.
Oh, hiss.
Well, no, they didn't time it because they
know.
didn't know when I was going to buy this laptop. It just happens
Sure,
that
they did.
I got 3 months.
Lots of
Oh,
things
yeah,
come
yeah,
with a
you think
3-month
they-
Apple TV
Yeah.
Plus trial.
But I did get to finish Ted Lasso. I did get to finish what they finished of Mythic Quest, which was all right. This show is okay so far. The first episode was really strong. They really set up all these mysteries, and they sort of settled into now it's a new sheriff in town. Nobody likes her. She's butting heads with everybody. She's trying to figure out what's going on, what is actually happening outside. I mean, who knows? Apparently, it's based on a book, and the first season seems to be covering the first half of the first book. So I'm not too hopeful about a really much of a conclusion or too many answers.
So, little bit of a clarification. What do you mean by a silo? Like a grain silo?
It's just a giant vertical tower.
I would assume.
So, like,
They call it the silo.
What was that film we saw with the
platform?
The platform. So is it like that?
It's like a big spiral. It's just a vertical spiral. That's where people, the rich people live on top. The poor people live on the bottom. Yeah,
think more like the prison from Fortress,
which I haven't seen. But Rebecca Ferguson's a mechanic from the dregs from down in the bottom. Mm-hmm. So they're like, who the fuck is she? Why is she the sheriff? So I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'll keep watching because it's.
Bob, who does not particularly care for dystopian stuff, was absolutely raving about it yesterday evening. He said it was some of the best goddamn science fiction he's seen in ages. So we're planning on jumping on it fairly soon.
So it's like vertical Snowpiercer.
Vertical Snowpiercer is not a bad way of looking at it.
Kind of, yeah.
No. So I just wonder if it's actually going to all turn out to be Dark City, and they break out of it. They go outside.
See, we don't know.
Spoilers.
Well, I know a little bit about what's going outside. I won't spoil it since it seems like you guys are planning to watch it. We do find out.
We're planning to watch it.
Where I am, you know a little bit. The last thing I have is a book I've been reading. I've been reading Tom Hanks's latest novel, which is titled "The Making of Another Major Motion Picture Masterpiece," which is exactly what the book is about. It's a novel about the making of a movie. Centers around this kind of prestigious director who has now been roped into doing a superhero movie. I'm halfway through the book. Right now, they're casting. They're talking about character and the human condition and how they're not going to make this a bad superhero movie. I mean, I think I know where it's going to go. It's entertaining. He's a pretty good writer. I'm reading the audiobook. It's read by Hanks himself. So it's an enjoyable read. So far, I mean, I'll probably talk to your wife about it, Nate, if I enjoy it and recommend it to her or not recommend it.
You're not allowed to anymore. I found those texts where you're talking with each other back and forth. Nope, no more access to her.
Wait, what did I say? Did I say?
He's joking.
I'm being faux jealous.
Oh, I thought like we talked. No, I was like, did we talk shit about you? And the fact that you don't read very much or something like that. I don't know.
I don't think we did. I don't
think we did, but we could.
That's awesome.
Totally start doing that
now that feels like a major piece of literary fiction. The Subliterate Cuckold.
If Jess wants to write something other than horror, she's got
that. Sorry. But it's actually a very deeply veiled Robertson Davies reference. Anyway,
but before we get too far away from it, I'm ridiculously and unnecessarily excited about the Platform 2.
We're down. We were there. We're down.
Watch it.
Yeah, because
what were they going to do?
But that was the biggest complaint is that it stopped and there was no explanation for anything.
Well, it's a gigantic metaphor. So, I mean, what kind of an explanation could they offer? And the metaphor was played out. What are they going to do? Is this going to become a tortured extended metaphor?
It's going to be John Wick 2, where you get into the lore and stuff, and it's going to set up for Platform 3.
It's going to be Platform 2. Platform 2 hyper platform.
I never saw Hypercube. I've only seen the first one.
I love all those Cube movies. All of them.
I've only ever
have you seen the Japanese one?
I've seen the first one.
No.
There's a Japanese Cube?
A remake.
There's a Japanese remake of Cube from a couple years ago.
I did hear about that.
I do believe I think that every country should have a remake of Cube.
I can see that. I can see what you're thinking there, and I'm with you on it.
Culturally specific.
I want a Québécois cube. Well, check that. Check that. The cube we had was Québécois. I want. Oh goodness! I want a Scottish cube.
They'd never leave the first room.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any Somali independent films?
I've seen some Nigerian ones, which I realize is nowhere near freaking Somalia, but it's the closest I got.
They're similar in that they're shot on like VHS-C, and The editing is done in camera.
Yeah.
That's the Cube I want to see.
Yeah.
That's
Similarly, I would go for Nollywood Cube as well.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Actually, the one that we all really want, even though we didn't realize it until just now, we want the Tollywood Cube.
Or the
Ooh,
Bollywood Cube. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
I think I might actually look into that book. It sounded very interesting. The
Which one?
the Tom Hanks
Tom
book.
Hanks.
Yeah, it's well written. It's fun.
I love
it's a
reading
breezy read.
about.
He had to be
film.
doing something with all those typewriters all that time.
And there are. It's set in modern day, and one of the characters does write everything on a typewriter, of course,
Of course.
on an old ass typewriter.
Had to get that in there.
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
I think it's just me. If I'm,
And
unless
Whack-
I'm
Wagner
mistaken.
hasn't gone.
Oh, Matt. Go
Whack.
Matt.
Okay. Whack will go next. Okay.
Brain not
couple-
braining well.
Yeah. Go through a couple
Old.
things quick. Movie night.
Mm.
With the completion of watching The Incredible Hulk, we are now set up for Avengers at some point in the near future. And Incredible Hulk is actually pretty good for kids because they don't have to pay attention to the movie a lot. And it becomes immediately evident when they need to pay attention, and they pay rapt attention.
Wait,
Then
is
they
Hulk
run
on
around.
there? Sorry, is Hulk on there too?
Hulk is on there too.
Oh.
I'm not a monster. I didn't show them the Ang Lee one.
Hulk was good. Hulk was good. Fuck the haters.
Thank God. Okay. So you didn't show
You
them.
thought I was? No, I didn't show the Ang Lee.
I thought you
Hulk.
were
I showed
talking about the
Incredible
Ang Lee. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So I'm showing them
Edward
the
Norton.
Incredible Hulk.
Right?
I favor
Norton.
the Ang Lee one, but I realize that's
Not
probably a
for children.
minority opinion.
Boo.
No, not for
Not for
not for
Because
children. No.
Then after they finish watching it, they go out onto the front lawn and they run around screaming their heads off until they're exhausted and they actually sleep through the night. So
Nice.
That's
Yeah,
good
no,
on all
I-
fronts.
That's as
Yeah.
good a recommendation as you could get with children.
There
That's
is
the
a lot
best.
of death. There is a lot of death, but it's mostly cartoony death in which a person is exploded and thrown off screen. It is just sort of presumed
As
they
a-
die.
As opposed to Ang Lee's Hulk, which is a movie, a feature-length iteration of somebody getting yelled at by his father.
Yeah, so
Yep.
not what you
Not
wanna
so
show
great for the
7
little
years.
kids. No. That's
Okay.
filmed trauma.
Oh,
But
you
I
watched
still-
Traffic.
Oh
I
yeah.
did watch Traffic. I'm continuing to work my way through the Tati box set. This is the second to last feature film. So general thoughts on Tati in general. This is the most gentle humor I have ever seen. This humor is so gentle that there are many occasions where I'm like, oh wait, I think that was a joke. And I would rewind. Yep, that was a joke. The joke is just that the woman has a dog. The dog looks like a mop. At one point, he walks into the showroom, and there's a man with a ShamWow cleaning a car. That's the joke. The dog looks like the mop. It is so gentle. There was exactly one cruel joke in the entire film where a bunch of ruffian teenagers decide to make the woman think she has accidentally run over her own dog by putting a mop under the wheel of one of the wheels of her car, and this just leads to a 5-minute sequence where what's the Tati's character's name?
Mr. Ulo.
Hulo.
Monsieur
Hulot.
Hulot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Monsieur Hulot is trying to show her, no, this is a mop, and like pulling off the button that was its nose, and she just gets increasingly hysterical because she thinks he is dismembering her dead dog in front of her. But the rest of it is such a gentle comedy, you don't realize it's a comedy till you're about halfway through it.
As far as Tati goes, Traffic was never one of my favorites personally. Playtime and Mon Oncle are the two favorites for me. And I go back
Interestingly-
and forth between them.
Interestingly, my favorite is actually Monsieur Hulot's Vacation.
Yeah.
Beachside Vacation.
Holiday.
Holiday.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one I actually liked the most because it was much more of a almost Chaplin-esque character wandering into an otherwise normal environment and causing it to become just a little bit off kilter.
Mhm.
But I have a history of loving all things Chaplin, and that was probably the most directly Chaplin-esque one he did of what I've seen. I haven't seen Parade yet.
Playtime is
So.
I'm just because I haven't seen them in years. Playtime's the one where he visits his family, and he goes to the factory. There are machines, and he makes wieners.
That one is Mon Uncle.
Okay.
That's why you keep going back and forth. I'm pretty sure that's my uncle.
No, I thought Mon Uncle was.
He's not making wieners. It's like a tubing.
No, but that one's in.
Fouls up the machine.
Mon Oncle is in black and white, and Playtime's in color. I thought because
I think the only one that's in black and white is Vacation, but I could be wrong. I've only ever seen any of them once. I haven't got to the rewatch. I'm going to finish the whole box set.
Okay, am I thinking of Monsieur Hulot's Holiday? God, I get these all mixed up. I'm not. What's the one that starts and ends with the dogs running around and he?
That I think is Mon Uncle.
But it looks like
no. Wait. No, that. Oh, yeah, I think that's Playtime.
No, Playtime. There's. Okay, I'm just gonna look at all his movies. I'm gonna figure this out.
The one that Playtime that has the most profound moment in it is when he goes into the nightclub restaurant that is falling apart around him, and at one point the random American just sort of annexes a corner of the restaurant and declares it his own nightclub, and has
I love that one.
Sets himself up as the doorman of that section, and you can only get in if he approves of you. And the waiter everybody keeps having something happen to their waiter outfits, and they keep going out and trading with him. One has a shoe go bad and trades with him, and another has spilled on his clothes, and so there's just one utterly bedraggled waiter sitting on the porch.
I don't remember which one is what. I just remember certain moments, and one of my favorite Tutty moments is whenever he would sit on a chair, had a cushion on it, and it would go.
That is Playtime. That is Playtime. He was trying to meet someone in that building for a job interview or something.
The sound design in that film is fucking phenomenal. It's like next level shit. Some of the sound work they do in that thing, to the point where a lot of it is referenced in Sam Raimi movies. He did it in Evil Dead 2. He loves playing with sound effects just to bring the image to life even more, and that's exactly what Hulot would do with a lot of his films. There would be no dialogue. It would be very quiet, and the soundtrack would be the sound effects. And
I actually thought Hulot was a silent character for the first film and a half.
Very close, yeah.
And to talk about a character who does not speak a lot, and to do the entirely opposite end of the spectrum, the last film I watched was Terrifier 2.
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nope.
How'd that go?
It is not as extreme as I was led to believe. And it is not nearly as extreme as the first one.
Really?
Probably because the character is established at this point. It's like before you knew what Freddy did, what his motivations were, and what he was capable of, he was a much more frightening figure.
I can see
this one. It's nasty, but when you get sort of deep into the gore end of things, you wander across a line where it just becomes a person beating up a resusci dummy on the ground, and it's no longer really frightening. Now they cross back and forth over the line in this. It's not a movie for the faint of heart, but I would say the first one is a much less safe experience because you're not certain where it's going, and it does have that feeling of this is something I'm not supposed to be watching. The sequel,
I got that when I finally saw it, to be sure.
Yeah. The sequel is much more what would be considered more of a standard approach. There's a few moments in there that are fairly extreme.
And it is 2.5 hours long.
No, it's only about 2:10.
It's still a lot.
That's a lot for a slasher movie.
Yeah.
And,
See, The problem I have with those Terrifier films is that they're built specifically to the people who say, "I want to see the good kills in horror
No, they're
movies."
not.
You don't think
This
so?
this is not really
The first one?
The first one especially, I don't think was built to be a great kills thing. I think it was genuinely trying to build up a new horror icon for the modern audiences, which are all jaded. And I think to that degree it did succeed because it made a
So
film
more-
that I was genuinely uncomfortable watching.
More of a guerrilla assault on the good kill crowd.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because the good kill crowd has that's people who I know who like the good kills. I mean, we all know them in a horror community. They're not friends, but they're acquaintances.
Hey.
I'll allow I have friends actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
same,
Okay.
same.
I don't. It skeeves me. I don't like the good kill idea. It freaks me out. But the thing that they have all tried to sell me on is the scene where the woman gets cut in half and how realistic it is.
Realistic.
And I
It is
don't
as
ever want to see
extreme
it.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
That is an appropriate approach. That is an appropriate approach. It's easily nastier than anything in the second film.
I didn't know what I was walking into with the first one. I thought I was just watching a horror movie. Like, it's
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it's not one of those movies where you're like, oh, it's like Thursday night. Let's just watch a horror movie. And
So
the
the
Terrifier
comparison
was
I
there.
have-
Oh, go ahead.
The comparison I have was I walked into Last House on the Left based on the cover art, which I thought it was a ghost story.
Ooh.
Which
Oh dear.
about as far off as you can get from what it actually is. The original Last House on the Left is a uncomfortably real experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I hate that movie.
I don't hate it. I always felt that was the film that Wes Craven made, and there's an old, of all things, Family Guy moment in which he and his daughter are walking along the street, and it's doing constant repetition of the backgrounds, and all of a sudden they find that they have wandered into bedrock, where it's like the Flintstone house. They all just stop and very carefully back out. I always felt that was Wes Craven's attitude towards Last House on the Left. I went here, I was young, I'm gonna back out of here.
Yeah,
Okay.
he never.
It's the calling card extremity.
Yeah,
He did Hills Have Eyes as well.
Yeah.
he
right?
did.
I
I've
see that.
actually never seen Hills Have Eyes. So
I don't like that either. I find them both to be within the
Unpleasant.
horror genre. I'd call them nihilistic films.
Oh yeah.
And
That is a fair assessment.
I'm not a big fan of nihilistic films that set out to be nihilistic.
The weird thing about Terrifier is that the secret of the first film, and I'm going to say this because those of you who are going to see the movie have already seen it.
I'm never going to see it, and I want to know.
So you get to the end of it, it turns out that that Art the Clown is straight up supernatural. Because at the end of the first one, he sticks a gun in his mouth and blows the back of his head off. And in the post-credit sequences is the morgue where his body gets up, kills the coroner and moves on. Going into the second one, knowing that he is straight up supernatural completely changes the dynamic of the film you're watching. Because in an amazing twist I never would have guessed actually happens, faces off against an angelic character. Literally angelic, with a flaming sword.
Interesting.
Did not see that coming. So it's on Halloween, the main central actress, who's, I should know her name, but I don't, I'm sorry, is dressing as an angelic character for Halloween, but at the end there is literally like glowy shit happening on, and apparently God intervenes to give her a holy weapon to actually kill the Terrifier. Did not see that coming.
All right.
Yeah. But
well, I mean, if you could have Deus Ex or Diabolos Ex Machina, you can always have a Deus Ex Machina.
yeah. And it has an equally ridiculous post-credit sequence. Actually, much more ridiculous post-credit sequence.
Yeah, it's been on my stash pile at work for a while, just on general principle. I still haven't mustered the will, to say nothing of the dosh, to actually pick it up.
So I watched the first one, and I was a little shaken by the first one. The second one I watched while eating Taco Bell, and I didn't really have a problem. So.
That's the barometer.
That's
Yeah, there you go.
that's a fair way of gauging things.
We are actually getting pretty late now, so we should probably
very sorry.
see what Jenner. No, it's your fault, Matt. But do you have much to share, or
just like four things that jump to mind directly?
Oh, is that all?
It's an odd little grab bag, and I like to think I can be relatively brief about most of them. Yesterday evening, Yesterday evening, our Monday night movie was The Lost King, the recent Stephen Frears joint about the situation that led up to the discovery of the remains of Richard III, which is always a story that I've found fascinating. But it's got wonderful acting by the likes of Sally Hawkins as the lead, Steve Coogan, who has a very enjoyable role and also co-wrote the screenplay. Mark Addy, a wonderful score by Alexandre Desplat that I wanted to bring attention to, just because, despite the fact that it's sort of a real-world story and could have played kind of like a docudrama, Desplat approached it kind of like a light thriller or adventure movie like The Da Vinci Code, which is kind of a fun approach to that sort of thing. So I wanted to bring attention to that. But anyways, yes, very, very enjoyable movie, particularly if you dig the Richard III mystery or British history in general. Also recently saw the latest Shudder drop, which is called Brooklyn 45, which is basically a 2-room real-time playlet with actually sort of a nihilistic story in its own right. But basically, it's about some characters who have gathered after their term of U.S. military service in World War II has concluded, or more often intelligence service in World War II, to conduct a seance for the wife of the highest ranking of them, who had committed suicide, because no one would believe her that their neighbor from a few doors down was a Nazi spy. Again, very sad movie, but kind of in the taking the setup of something on the order of a ghost story, goes in some surprising directions. Definitely a bit of a downer, but mostly a movie about PTSD anyway. That said, does have some genuinely startlingly creepy moments, and the usual wonderful supporting performance by Larry Fessenden. Who, as usual, was somewhere in the producing lists as well. Other things recently, Polite Society, which is marriage fight club for Indian girls.
I want to see
that was a lot of fun. You would actually dig that, Jane. I should slide that your way. Essentially, it's a young Indian British girl who wants to be a stunt woman, and her beloved sister who falls for just the wrong guy, and she has to get a crew together to save her from a very, very ill-advised marriage. Hijinks ensue. It's a nifty little movie.
That sounds right up my alley.
The trailer was a lot of fun.
I would say be cautious, because the trailer is like 5 minutes long and tells the entire story. At least it seems to.
Yeah, no, it's you're probably not wrong. I never saw the trailer. I just stumbled upon it incidentally. But it's not great, but it's good. And it has some wonderful turns, not least by Ritu Arya, who was Lila in the Umbrella Academy, and kind of a joy to watch. Increasingly widespread and reliable character actress. Lastly...
Sorry, which one was Lila? Was that the rumor?
No, Lila was the other time traveler with.
Okay, gotcha.
The dark hair, dark eyed one.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember her now.
Yeah,
Okay.
the one with the absolutely withering line deliveries.
Yeah.
She's a joy. She's the sister in Jeopardy in this one, so that's interesting in its own. Finally, the latest Robert Rodriguez Ben Affleck joint, Hypnotic, which is kind of a lot. I can't tell if it's kind of a lot of fun despite being really stupid, or being really stupid despite being a lot of fun. If that makes any sense. I wouldn't dream of giving anything away about it. Suffice it to say, you'll watch it once and you'll say, "Oh, okay," and you'll probably not watch it again. But has some. The usual sterling work by the likes of Alice Braga. William Fichtner. Affleck doing kind of low art of a sort that he hasn't done a lot of lately, but he seems fairly relaxed. He seems to be enjoying himself. I think he's just up in there having a good time, which is just fine. It's a programmer. It's nothing terribly important, but you'll probably watch it without complaint, without realizing that that's what it is, or that it ever got released. And it's like, oh, where'd this come from? Well, this is that movie.
Yeah, I saw a poster for it at when to see Spider-Verse. No idea what it's about, but I'm like, Ben Affleck, Robert Rodriguez, looks like sci-fi. Okay.
Yeah, I saw the trailer in front of Evil Dead Rise, and it's even an independent release. It doesn't have a major studio behind it, so it's interesting that it should kind of exist in the first place.
Did you like Evil Dead Rise?
I did, but I can absolutely see not liking it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely, given that the overarching premise of it from the very get-go is not just kids in jeopardy, but exceedingly bad things happening to tweeners.
Yeah.
I could see being distinctly wary of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to see it. I feel like it betrays the spirit of Evil Dead as a series.
Oh, okay.
It's like I said, I enjoyed it. As I said, I found it weirdly relaxing. But that's because I know how these movies tend to go. It's it's not terribly monumental, but I liked it. But I can absolutely see not liking it much.
All right. Well, I will not be seeing it then. Thank you. If there was like some,
you will not like. You would not like it. You would be. It would make you very, very angry.
The trailer made me angry by itself.
I remember.
Oh yeah, that's right. I commented on it.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Okay. We should probably move on to our picking our next movie thing. I'm trying to find. I'm looking at my list because there's a movie I wanted to ask everybody about, but now I can't find the goddamn thing.
Ain't that always the way?
Yeah, and I absolutely cannot remember the title.
I keep
describe it.
Where
Actor, director.
I found it on Netflix. It was, I think, a Bollywood film where a married couple, the guy is just a normal guy and the wife is like a fucking kickboxer and beats the shit out of people constantly.
That sounds
no
cool.
idea.
We still need to undertake the Bahubali duology one of these days, but
that's a lot of movie though.
That's a lot of two movies.
I did watch the first one. I still haven't got around to the second one yet.
So was the first one as ridiculous as I described it as being?
Well, you said it was. You said it was like RRR cranked up even higher.
That was my impression. Maybe I was overselling it.
Well, thing is, it feels like half a movie.
Well, it is half a movie. It is literally half of a movie.
Right. It just. I forget. It ends in a flashback, right? Like where I'm at in the movie right now, or where it ended, is in the middle of a flashback.
I saw it once 2 years ago. I don't remember. Sorry.
I mean, I thought it was fun.
Maybe it's the second. Maybe it's the second half where it gets really bonkers. I don't know.
It hasn't made a super strong impression on me so far.
Okay. You see the bit with the romance where he keeps stalking the woman who's trying to be on lookout for him, and he keeps doing things like painting henna on her arm when she's not looking.
Tattooing her while she's sleeping.
Henna. It's henna, not tattoo. But
maybe the translation says like he's tattooed me. and it doesn't. She still has
Yeah,
it.
but that's because the translation didn't think Americans would know what a henna pattern was. So
Okay.
Mm.
yeah,
About a month to wash off, or a little more, depending on how you take care of it.
yeah.
Oh, because I
But
was under the impression that it was permanent, and
I don't think so.
she was mad. I mean, understandably, either way.
I don't.
You'd figure is that you'd wake up if someone was tattooing you in
No,
your
she
sleep.
wasn't. No, she wasn't asleep. That's the trick. He was
Oh.
doing it to her while she was on watch for him. He was just that good.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it seems unlikely it would be tattoo, but I don't know. Maybe I misinterpreted it, but
But the thing is, like, once they've fallen in love, we haven't really gotten back to them. Like, it immediately like flash back, and now we're like, then it ends in the middle of that. So
okay.
still
okay.
waiting to see where it goes.
I don't remember the structure, but you haven't gotten to the point where the two of them use the same bow to shoot 8 people at the same time.
No, I don't think they've fought together yet.
That's coming.
Okay.
That is one of the more ridiculous That's like Lord of the Rings, Legolas, surfboarding down the wall while shooting people. Level of absurdity.
You got to figure that probably plays better in Bollywood stuff, though, or
Maybe.
Tollywood.
So, Nate, you were going to pitch the fourth man to us, I think? Or
No, we have to hold off on it, remember?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have to procure it first, because
Yeah,
it is not available in this country or most countries.
Okay.
Like, it is legit, just straight up not here. Period.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to order it
off
in
the
Hong
map.
Kong. Yeah.
I will probably not be here next week. So.
Okay, so we will not try to convince you of something.
Right.
I
I
can't.
mean, it could change, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can find this movie.
I mean, there's a lot of Bollywood stuff on Netflix at this point, and I have to allow it does kind of run together. But realistically, I could say the same thing about any particular national cinema on Netflix.
I mean,
They become a great source of new international cinema. It's just there's such a complete flood of it. It's hard for anything to really stand out.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna go through my list, my Netflix list, one more time. Wait.
Oh.
Is this it? How do I? Okay, let's go back. No, I want to see the fucking page where it tells me who's in it and shit. You dumb asshole. I fucking hate Netflix.
It's gotten more complicated on the web, like trying to find out.
I'm back at the top. Yeah.
It used to be simpler.
Okay. It's called. No, I'm sorry. That's not it. That's one about people of two different faiths try to convince their parents that they should get married.
So not so much with the kickboxing.
No kickboxing. I'll keep looking.
All right.
Let's
table that till later on.
Yeah.
Write it down next time.
So yeah, let's talk about movies. Since we've pretty much all. I guess we could do Jenner again, since we have all been done. Anybody can go. I don't care. Let's just start thinking about movies that are on our lists and we've just never gotten to.
Ooh. Okay, that's a different list.
Here it is. Yes. Gata Kushti.
Spell that.
Okay.
GATTA space KUSTHI.
TH.
Wait, sorry.
KUSTHI.
Gatakusti.
Yes.
Gatakusti.
I can confidently say I've never heard of that.
Gatakusti on my finger and I can't shake it off. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
When wrestling champ Kirti enters an arranged marriage with a chauvinistic Vera, she scrambles to be a traditional wife while hiding her true self as a wrestler.
Okay.
Who beats
Nate.
the shit out of this guy's friends.
Okay, Nate,
Yeah.
just a little bit of a check on you here.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for this to not go the way you expect it to?
In what way?
In that she may end up a traditional wife.
Oh, she would give up her wrestling.
This is Indian cinema.
I'll never know unless I watch it.
That is
you haven't
true.
seen
So
this, Nate?
That's
No.
right.
I just want you to be prepared for that, because there is a chance that this is not going to go the way the standard Western perspective is going to say it should go.
Yeah, yeah, that's very possible. I do like the front cover is her riding a motorcycle with the guy on the back. I think that's funny.
I mean, and it may very well go the way we do expect it to, but
Yeah.
I mean, I worry that you're going to come
Manage
in next time
expectations.
absolutely fuming.
I understand that there are cultural differences.
Mhm.
I am very aware of these things. I mean, it's not like she's going to be like, I'm never going to wrestle again and my husband rapes me every night. It's like,
Probably not. No.
Probably not.
but that's
no.
not what I doubt
No.
that's what the movie is about. I really doubt that.
Okay.
It's TV PG and it looks
It says
very
PG-13 for me.
Really? Oh.
I'm on Netflix right now. It says PG-13.
Oh,
Oh, it's on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine says TV PG.
Wait, let me double check.
How long is it?
Oh, never
as
mind.
an
PG,
Indian
TV,
film?
PG. Yeah, okay.
It's 2 hours and 23 minutes.
Okay, so
Gotta
it's a
love
short
that.
Indian
Gotta
film.
love that Indian cinema was never shy about extremely long running times.
I'm also not necessarily pitching this. I just couldn't. I just want to watch it at some point.
That's worth filing. I don't know is that I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, that's
We
what I'm
need to
saying.
convince you.
And
He hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I
probably the
can't.
rest
I have no way to convince.
of-
but
Convince
next week you
yourself.
could.
Yeah.
I will see it on my own time, and
Report
then
back
I
to
will
the
report
team.
back. That's what will happen.
Amen.
Yes, movies that that we've been told we. Oh, I have a couple I'd like to read off because I have a list of movies to show Amelia, and this could coincide. Two birds with one stone.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to start reading the list, and let's not talk too much about any of these. Just get through the list and then talk.
Real quick, as he
yeah.
says a title, hold up your hand if you've seen it. So if we've all seen
Good call.
it. then-
Good call.
Good call.
Okay.
Good call.
Dark Water, the Japanese version. Cool. Sadako versus Yuriko. That's The Ring versus The Grudge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Haven't seen it.
Twilight Zone, the movie. Lake Mungo. Holy shit.
Oh.
Oh, we already did Event Horizon. Mimic. Okay. Sleepy Hollow.
Hey.
I don't like Tim Burton. I don't want to see it.
That's fine.
But it's got Ray Park in it.
I'm
It doesn't
gonna.
have a head.
I'm gonna. A couple of these, you're all gonna be like, of course we've seen that. We'll just get past it, and I'm just gonna keep reading. Saw.
I have not seen it.
Oh wow. The Fly.
Yeah.
Goldblum. The Fly. Okay, good. We did Slither on the show. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Don't think so.
The Shining. Yeah.
But have you seen the European cut?
Pitch Black. Everybody. The Mist, I think we've all seen. We've all talked about it, I'm pretty sure. Resident Evil, the Mila.
No.
Oh.
Oh, you have, Shane.
So sorry, I kicked off my mic. What did you just say?
Resident Evil, the Mila Jovovich version.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Yes.
And
Oh my
Fright
God.
Night.
Which one? I've seen both.
Original. So I like the ideas. 3 stuck out to me. Twilight Zone, the movie, I'm surprised more of you haven't seen that.
I'm surprised you want us to watch that one.
I like it. I like that movie. I know it has
something really scary.
The history.
it's an incredibly
I love it.
tragic history, but I
Yeah.
still think it's a good movie. There are a lot of
the-
movies
It's a
with
great
traffic.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last
Um,
two, the Joe Dante and George Miller segments make up for the Steven Spielberg and John Landis segments, except insofar as it is possible to make up for the John Landis segment.
Yeah. I usually skip that part. I do. It's not the best Twilight Zone anyway.
Yeah.
But if I watch it with Amelia, I'll put it into context because these are all things she hasn't seen that I want to introduce to her. And then Lake Mungo and Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Tales from the Dark
What
Side.
is Lake?
I'll-
Sorry,
I'll
what
I
is
get
don't
to
know
that.
what Lake Mungo is.
Okay.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie is just a personal thing. It's close to like it was one of my first VHS tapes, and I watched it about 48,000 times. And I love that movie, and I think it's great, and has a lot of fun people in it, and David Johansen and William Hickey and Steve
Christian
Buscemi.
Slater.
Yeah, Christian Slater,
Is that
Julianne
the
Moore, one
Is
of
that
her
the one
earliest
with the
roles.
kid?
Yes,
Kid telling stories to keep the witch from eating him?
yes,
Or-
yes.
Okay.
That's it.
I have not seen it, I don't think. I'm just
Uh,
familiar with
Yeah, that's a personal one. I'm actually going to try to pitch Lake Mungo.
Okay.
That's an interesting one.
It
I
is.
don't know what that is.
It is a pseudo documentary / found footage film that is absolutely fucking brilliant. It's one of the most effective ghost stories I've ever seen because it doesn't aim to do jump scares. It doesn't aim to have the ghost like, we have to kill the ghost or we have to put its bones to rest. It's just it's more of a character study of a family, and it's incredibly effective. It doesn't jump scare you. You won't jump, you won't scream, nothing like that. But there is a constant state of unnerving dread throughout it. I would say I couldn't recommend it enough, and so few people have heard about it and watched it, and it keeps ending up on top 10 lists with horror not writers, but people who study horror films love the movie. It's academic.
I probably need to see it again, but it actually left me a little mad the first time that I saw it.
That's cool.
But like I say, I could stand to see it again. It's gonna be incredibly difficult to find.
Oh,
unless you know people, not Mungo. That I think may actually be on Amazon, or at least it was last time that I checked. Granted, that was a while ago. I would put onto a list another mock documentary that was one of my favorite movies of that sort from the last couple of decades called Savage Lands, which is exceedingly obscure but kind of amazing, not least because the found footage is mostly photographs as opposed to actual like motion footage, which is an interesting enough approach in its own right. Deeply unnerving picture.
Which one?
I believe it was 2015. It's called Savage Lands.
There are two Savage Lands in 2016. 2015 is Heather Moore and Lars Nielsen, and it's one word. The 2016s are a video game, and it's called Savage Lands instead
American
of Savage
mockumentary
Land.
horror film.
Pardon?
American mockumentary film.
Yes, that's the one.
2015. Phil Goodry, Simon Herbert, David Whelan.
Nobody you've heard of.
Concerning a massacre on the U.S.-Mexico border town.
Yep.
Now, is it Savage Lands, The Savage Lands, or Savage Land?
Savage
I believe
Land.
it's Savage Lands.
Two word.
The one I just read off was a single word, Savage Land.
And that's the Heather Moore, Lars Nielsen one?
No. Phil Goodry, Simon Herbert, David Whelan.
Let me see if they just put some.
I might be looking at a low-budget thing.
Oh, no, this is it. This is it. Yeah, Phil Goodry. Stars Heather Moore and J.C. Carlos and all these people.
Okay.
David Whelan, Simon Herbert, Phil Guidry.
Yeah.
When a small town near the Arizona-Mexico border is wiped out overnight, suspicion falls on the lone survivor. But a roll of photos the survivor took that night tells a different story. And the tagline is "Horror has no borders."
It's a little cheesy, but it gets the point across. Not sure if it's available through any of the usual channels.
Mhm.
I have means.
Yeah, we could talk about that later. Lake Mungo is free everywhere.
Well, there's that.
Let's look up Savage.
Tubi. Savage Land says is available to stream now on Tubi.
It is also on everything.
Nice, good.
Both
Oh,
are on
wait.
everything.
This one is saying 2013, not 2015.
Ooh.
I'm looking in the wrong place. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm looking on Just Watch. It does take me to the it's on Tubi. It's definitely on Tubi.
Okay.
Right. I don't know. We could do like a horror mockumentary double.
Well, does anybody else have any pitches they want to throw out there?
Nothing that comes to mind right now.
I was suggesting Morons from Outer Space before, but that's a completely different realm.
If you want to pitch it, go for it.
Not this time.
Tell me, you magnificent bastard.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which it spends a lot of time mocking. I think we should get some distance before we
that's fair.
dig into it.
What
Like I said,
what do you okay, Jenner and I have both pitched movies. What do you three find more interesting? It's between you guys. It's up to you guys.
I'm interested in the structure of a found footage photography film.
Thank you.
Which is what Savage Land is.
It's not a contest.
Presented as. The problem is that Nate's pitch by necessity has to be circumspect, or it's going to start giving things away. Am I right?
Yeah.
As you say, it's a family drama. If you start getting into the dynamics of the family, then you're
yeah. I want it to be. I want you to go in fresh.
Yeah. Which makes it difficult to pitch. What's the background of Lake Mungo? Who's the creator? What's the director? Is there stars in it we would recognize?
Directed?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's completely out of nowhere. I think it was one of the After Dark movies from a while back. It just ended up being it was just one of the most acclaimed.
It was not an After Dark movie.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You sure?
Yeah.
No.
Jordan Peele has stated that it's one of the scariest movies of all time.
Okay,
we're going to lean into a claim on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, appeal to authority, but it's still a pretty solid rec.
Yeah. Okay. This is the description from IMDb. This is just they present it differently. Strange things start happening after a girl is found drowned in a lake.
Okay.
Okay, I feel like that might have given away an essential point of the film.
Oh, the girl in the lake? That's in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah. That's the entire plot of the movie. That's how the kickoff plot.
Yeah.
It is more about the family than anything.
Okay. Jane, which way are you leaning?
I'm probably going to go to Mississippi, and I'm not going to watch it anyway because.
Oh, okay. Which one do you not want us to do?
Both sound like something I might actually. I don't know. Guess I'm leaning more toward the Lake Mungo one just because it sounds cool and has. Jordan Peele. Come on.
Respectable shout outs.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Shane?
Wait, is it? It's not a tie right now, is it? Or are we both?
I don't know.
Well,
well, this is.
I don't think you came down one way or the other, Matt.
Yeah.
Unless I missed.
I didn't want to be a tiebreaker because I don't think I have a strong leaning either way.
Do either of you, since it'll be 4 people, are either of you able to watch 2 movies?
That's gonna be. I don't know.
Kind of tough for you, Shane.
Possibly, yeah.
Hunter has time, and that might be kind of neat. So, he could watch both, and each one of you could pick one. Might be kind of fun.
Well, I mean, I've seen both of them already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. Well, how about this?
I don't want to pressure Shane by saying that I could watch 2 movies. I'm not.
I mean, if you
entirely
can. That's fine.
Well, how about this? What do you think you could undertake this week, Nate? That is to say, have I sufficiently intrigued you on the subject of Savage Lands?
Oh yeah, I'll watch it. Watching the trailer did it for me, but yeah, it looks like it looks independent.
Yeah.
So does Lake Mungo. There's no real. They're both like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Neither one's
really?
terribly
Both
long.
short?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're both short. So we could do one next week and one the following week. Or we could try to aim for 2 this week, and if not everybody can get to it, then we just don't talk about it.
Well, I kind of like that idea. Or talk about what you get to see. I mean, we
How
do that
about-
anyway.
Yeah.
How about we order them so that everybody can talk about one movie, and if everybody gets to the second movie, everybody can talk about the second movie.
Well,
a good idea or
if
no?
we are provisionally undertaking Savage Lands, in that case, I would probably favor Lake Mungo as number 1 and Savage Lands as number 2. Well, no, I mean,
Right.
the thing is, Savage Lands, Lake Mungo has a very serious sort of genre reputation. It's came from nowhere, not from nothing, but it has a very, very serious and solid reputation. Savage Lands is unbelievably obscure, and I think it deserves a much higher profile than it has.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Why don't we aim for Lake Mungo? And if we have time, Savage Lands. If we don't have time, it goes on the list for later consideration.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to.
That
say
feels
we
fair.
We commit to it 2 weeks out, because then we're just setting a schedule rather
Yeah,
than
that's true.
having this discussion at the end of each show.
That's a good call.
Okay.
And also keep in mind for everybody, when you look it up on Tubi or whatever, or on your Roku, it's Savage Land, no S, all one word.
2015.
Yes, 2015.
Yes.
You have to look it up exactly like that for it to show up.
Do not watch Strangeland by mistake.
I have never seen
Man,
it.
I was drinking something.
All
Kill me
right.
over my keyboard over here.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've just about covered everything. I think we can probably call it for this episode. Anybody have anything else they want? Any parting wisdom?
Well, I have a question that I'm putting to the team just about my prospective late evening viewing for tonight, because both options are about 3 hours long.
Mhm.
Fast X or Beau is Afraid?
Beau
Do I
Fast
want-
X.
I haven't seen either, but
Do I want filet mignon with razor sauce, or a meal at Burger King that is neither any better or worse than my last meal at Burger King, noting that I like Burger King even as I acknowledge its shortcomings?
How was your day today, and what have you watched most recently?
It was a pretty decent, if rather low-key day. Most recent thing that I saw was The Lost King, which is sort of art housey, but in the kind of British popular sort of way.
But it doesn't. It's not like a palate. It doesn't need a palate cleanser or anything.
No.
Fast X is a palate cleanser. If you've had a bad day, watch a Fast and Furious. It just your brain just seeps it. You don't have to think, and it's great. Beau is Afraid looks like it is going to require some emotional investment.
Fair enough.
So I'd say
You're
the
gonna
choice
need
is
it with
based
a
on that.
chaser. It's the spoon. Well, you got your spoonful of sugar and your medicine. So
Are you going to have trouble going to sleep if you watch Beau is Afraid versus Fast X?
Fast X, I could go to sleep after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
I
recommendation.
don't work early
Yeah,
tomorrow,
you're
but I work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't work early though. It's a 3-hour movie. It's a time commitment.
Oh, one last thing before we go. Ninth Configuration was funded by Pepsi.
Yeah, fun little story about that. Apparently, they just had some money that they had to keep in Hungary, so Pepsi funded half of the movie on the condition that the money stayed in Hungary, and Blatty's counter condition was that there should be no product placement in the film. Although
there is a Pepsi machine.
There is a Pepsi machine.
Yeah. Apparently, he was okay with that one.
And Fritos were eventually bought by Pepsi, but I have no idea if they owned them at the time.
No, not
Hey,
yet.
that part of the movie I adored. Every time he sit down.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
believe the end of the world has come for that bag of Fritos and I had in my back pocket.
That was funny. All right, let's call it. That's going to do it for us here on What's on the Pile. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search for What's on the Pile. Or you can visit our website, what'sonthepile.com, though I've been really bad about updating it. So I'll get to it eventually when I finish one of the 9,000 projects I've got. All right, see you next week. Thanks for hanging out.